Do you want to hear what really gets talked about in trading in the early stages? Before we do that, here's my promise to you. I will save you months of frustration and months of setback in your trading journey. And we're going to do that by breaking down 3 of the most common beliefs that almost wrecked my learning, so that you can destroy those common beliefs as well today. For those of you who don't know me, I go by the name of Carolina, but you can call me Caro for short. And this is a picture with me and my dad. I think this was back in France from last year. As you can see under the table, we have a beautiful dog. We are a dog lovers. I have been in the trading world for almost a year now. And I've also had the privilege to have one-on-one coaching from one of the biggest traders. Actually, 2 of the biggest traders. They were professional traders and they've been trading for, I think, the past 20 years. As you can guess it, along the way, I have made plenty of mistakes. Like all the mistakes that you can think of within 1 year, I've done many of them. The whole point of this is I want to share the lessons with you because I want to offer value by sharing what I have learned the hard way so you don't have to. So this whole presentation is based on one very simple idea. And the idea is based on the following premise. There are 2 ways in which you can achieve a desired result. The first way is you either do more of what already works or you do less of what doesn't work. In other words, there are 2 ways that you can get to your preferred outcome. You can do more of the things that bring you closer to that preferred outcome, or you can do less of the things that distance you from that preferred outcome. The difference is that the one on the left, doing more of what works well, it's a bit faster than doing less of what doesn't work. But the end, they're both effective because they're going to bring you from point A to point Z. It's just the speed with which you go from point A to point Z. The whole point of this is we're going to focus on what didn't work to be able to do less of what doesn't work. So we're going to remove what's been dragging us so that we're able to finally move forward. If you think I'm crazy, this mindset is actually a mindset that I learned from the one and only Thomas Edison. And he said that I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways on how not to do something. Because the moment that you learn what you shouldn't do, you're gonna stop doing what you shouldn't do. And through the method of elimination, you're gonna end up doing the thing that you have to do. Let's say you wanna pour water into a cup. Imagine there's a cup and you wanna pour water into the cup. Now there are many different things that you can do with the water. So let's say you take the water and you pour it and then it falls on the ground. Well, the cup is still empty. You can verify by the result that, well, that didn't work. So let me not do that next time. So next time you take more water and instead of pouring it on the floor, you pour it on the table next to the cup. The cup is still empty. So now you know, okay, the floor doesn't work and the table doesn't work. So let me try another thing the 3rd time. The 3rd time you're gonna pour it into your hands and you know where I'm getting at. Until at some point, the only possible thing that you can do, because you have eliminated all the other possible options, is to pour the water inside of the cup. And when you finally do that, that's when you get the results that you wanted. You poured the water into the cup. Congratulations. But there are 2 ways to do that. Either by already putting the water into the cup, or through the method of elimination, you'll learn what not to do, and eventually you're gonna do the thing that you have to do. It's gonna take you longer to put the water inside of the cup, but it's gonna get you there anyway. So the plan to deliver my promise to you of saving you at least from a tiny percentage of the frustration that I have experienced is I want to talk about the 3 biggest false beliefs that most beginners fall for, including myself. So I'm speaking from experience, trust me. Number 2, the mistakes that these false beliefs led me to do. And most likely you're making the same mistakes as well. And number 3, of course, we're gonna talk about the solutions to stop making that mistake because that's what we're here for. But what is a mistake and what causes it? So a mistake is nothing more than an outcome that we did not want to get. Let me give you an example in trading. So when you trade, you have a preferred outcome, right? You wanna make a profit. So when you get that preferred outcome, that result that you want, which is a profit, is what we call what? Success. Which means that if you get the opposite outcome, so if you get the thing that you did not want, which we call a loss, because you don't trade to lose, you trade to win money, that's what we call a failure or a mistake. So therefore, by definition, a mistake is any result that you get that you did not want to get. And it's caused by a limiting belief or a limiting mindset. That's where it actually starts. So if the problem is in the mental field, that means that the solution is also in the mental field. In our trading example, the loss of a trade was actually caused by taking a wrong action. You applied something wrong along the way, and you took that wrong action because you have a limiting belief or something in your mindset is limiting you. In this example, you thought, you believed that whatever it is that you were doing in your strategy was the right thing to do. That's why you did it, because you believed it. But the results showed you, with the loss, that somewhere along the way you're doing something wrong. But it all starts with the belief. Therefore, if the problem is somewhere in the system of beliefs that we have, something in the mental aspect, then the solution is we have to start thinking different. The core of the problem is in how we think. Therefore, the solution of the problem is also in how we think. I love this example from this philosopher that I like to read. His name is Gerardo Smedling. He says the example that you are cooking some eggs, you're baking some eggs, and you're doing that with fire. And at some point, the eggs on the pan, they're starting to burn. Why would you then go to the electricity box thingy that you have at your house and then unplug everything, like unplug the electricity, if it's the fire that's causing the problem? You see where I'm getting at? So if the problem is in the fire, then the solution is in doing something with the fire that is burning below the eggs. But you're not going to fix a problem by working on something that is not causing the problem. So the problem is our mindset. That means that we have to fix our mindset first. And this is how it looks like. Let's say, for example, you have the false belief or the limiting mindset that, hey, I believe that more soap means cleaner clothes, which kind of makes sense. If soap is made to clean, then the more soap, the cleaner it gets. So then the action that you're going to take is you're going to double down on detergent. You're going to put 2 times or 3 times as much detergent than you should. So the result is your washer is going to overflow. Your clothes are going to be very sticky. Now the question is that a result you want to get from washing your clothes? Of course, nobody wants sticky clothes. So this result of an overflowed washer, which you then have to pay an engineer or whatever it is called to repair the washer for you. And then you have to wash the clothes by hand because now you don't have a machine. And you cannot also not wear the clothes because they're all sticky. That's all an unwanted result, aka it's what we call a mistake. Notice how the mistake, this undesired result, is actually rooted in having the false belief. It all starts with a false belief, guys. Let's do some reverse engineering here. You get an undesired result. You know, the washer is overflowing and the clothes are sticky because you took the wrong action. You put too much detergent. But why did you put too much detergent? Well, because you have a limiting belief, because you have some information in your mind that is telling you the more soap I use, the cleaner the clothes are gonna get. So if we don't fix that, we're never gonna take a different action. And if you never take a different action, you're never gonna get a different result. It's that simple. Therefore, any undesired result, any mistake can only be fixed by first changing the false belief. You first have to change your mindset. Then you're gonna take the correct action based on the information that you have on your mind. And when you take the correct action, then you can get a different result, which would be going from an undesired result to a desired result. So this is to explain why I'm gonna be talking about the 3 most common beliefs, because that's where it all starts, to then eventually get the results that we want. And the result that we want is we want to be successful traders. Let's talk about some false ideas that are sold to you and set you on the wrong track so you can finally have success in your trading journey too. And trust me, I know this. I know this because I've done many things wrong. And again, I want to save you months of frustration. I want to save you months of desperation. I want to save you months of confusion. So the whole idea is to show you what not to do so you can actually start doing the right thing. I want to be your Thomas Edison. Like, let me be the one that is making the 10,000 mistakes, 10,000 ways on how not to do something, and then I'm going to give you a list of here are the 10 ways to do the thing. I was thinking, okay, where has doing the wrong things gotten me? Like, what is the outcome of doing the wrong things? And it's a lot of inefficiency. The process is incredibly slow, first of all. And then, of course, it's very frustrating because you don't make any progress. You start to doubt yourself at some point. It gets very confusing, very demotivating, and very self-destructive. I've been guilty of these outcomes as well. So I'm not playing innocent here that I know how to do everything perfectly. Like, no, I've been down in the trenches, I've done things wrong, and I've got unsatisfactory results, and I've got to the point in which I saturated myself that I'm like, I don't want this anymore. There's something, I need to change something. And this is the gift for me to you. So let's start with the first false idea. Everybody has got the best strategy, except everyone else. Let me give you an example. Best profitable day trading strategy for beginners with 0 experience. The only trading view indicator you ever need, 100% profit. Listen to that, 100% profit, which means that this person by now would be more than a billionaire if he has 100% profit. The best entry pattern. The only trendline trading video you'll ever need on caps lock and an exclamation mark at the end. The only technical analysis video you'll ever need. Again, I guess this is another only video that I'll ever need. I thought that the previous one was the only one that I'll ever need, but I guess I was wrong. The only candlestick pattern guide you'll ever need. I mean, come on, I think you already see where I'm going. So do you notice the pattern? It seems that everybody has got the best way to do the thing. Then I thought to myself, if every video is the best, then why are there thousands of them? If one strategy was all they ever needed, then why are there 100 videos more right after that? And if it was truly the only video that you'll ever need, then why did the YouTuber upload 50 other videos after that one video that anyone would only ever need? Doesn't make sense, right? Then I thought, okay, yeah, but if every single video is the best one, then how am I gonna pick the best? How am I gonna pick one if they're all the best? And the thing is, I found out the hard way that you don't pick one. You actually stay stuck. And the reason is very simple for this. You start with one best video, one of the videos that I just showed you. So then you learn the thing and then suddenly, bloop, there is another video that pops up in your newsfeed that also says, now this is the best strategy that you'll ever need. You're not gonna need anything else after that. And you're like, well, since I wanna have the best of the best, then I'm gonna do that one. I thought this one was the best, but that one is the best, so let me try that one. And the result is that you think you're doing the right thing because you're only watching the best, but then in reality what you're doing is you're jumping from the best to 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 the best, like a bee, going from flower to flower to flower to flower, and you end up not mastering one single thing. And when you don't master a single thing, you might have guessed it, you stay stuck at the beginning. To give you an example to really bring this home is when you go to the supermarket or the market, wherever it is that you buy your food, and you have to choose the avocados. What is the thing you do first? You don't just randomly pick an avocado and you buy that one. Now you're gonna look at them, you're gonna look at which one is, I think, a little bit yellow, that's a bit ready, not so bright green, and you're gonna then touch them, you're gonna squeeze them a little bit. Why? Because you want the best avocado from the other avocados. Same thing. The difference is when you choose one avocado over the others, you have already the experience to discern, to know which one to choose and which not to choose. Therefore, you end up choosing the best. But as a beginner trader, you don't know what you don't know. You don't have the ability to know this avocado I shouldn't take and this avocado I should take. So what you end up doing is you end up taking all of the avocados because they're all marketed as the best avocados. So we saw that the end result of this is that you end up not committing to any strategy. And the key of becoming very good at something is high reps. So the key to become very good at something is you have to do a lot of something. So the false idea that everybody has got the best strategy except everyone else leads to mistake number one. You don't commit to a strategy because you go from the best to the best to the best to the best because you believe that everybody has got the best, so you end up not committing. And this is how it looks like. So you start with the belief, with the mindset that everybody has got the best answer. And as we saw, then you go from best to best to best, which we call strategy hopping. And when you do strategy hopping, that means that you don't have a commitment for one specific strategy. And when you don't commit to one single thing, that means you never do enough volume in one specific thing. And that leads to having no concrete progress. And that leads to frustration because we all want to make progress, right? But if you don't make any progress, then the frustration comes, then the self-doubt comes. Notice how at the end, the mistake of not committing to a strategy actually starts because we believe that everyone has got the best answer. So it all starts with the belief, and that's the whole point that I'm trying to prove. We're so focused on, I'm doing a mistake, now I have to do something else, but we don't take the time to stop and think, okay, where does this mistake originate? From which action? Check. Now, why am I taking this action? Because somewhere in my mind, I have some false information that I'm using to base my actions off of. And so therefore, the information that we need to change to not take the wrong action anymore would be to change our mindset. We need to change the mental data set that we have. But we're going to get to the solution in a second. False idea number 2. Each strategy can be applied the same way to any instrument on any time frame, and you'll always get equally good results. Now you gotta be really careful with this one because this false idea has many different disguises. The trendline strategy works literally on any instrument and on any time frame. Volume price analysis can be applied equally to anything you are trading on. Or this X indicator can be used in crypto and stocks and futures and options and on any market hours as well. Let me tell you on a little secret. These statements are only partially true. Because the truth is, some things work better than others, depending on the time frame and depending on the instrument. So technically, each strategy can be applied to a variety of instruments, but they need to be applied differently depending on the instrument and the time frame you're on. So that means that the same strategy won't work the same everywhere. And let me give you an example of this. So on the screen, what you're seeing right now is an example of, this is the S&P 500, the futures market. At the bottom, you see some vertical green and red bars, which people call volume. And as you can see, so this is how volume looks on the daily time frame. And look at how different it looks than the volume on the 1 hour time frame. It's the same instrument, like we're still talking about the S&P 500 futures, but look at how different the volume is. On the daily time frame, the volume, you can kind of see an average, but on the 1 hour time frame, and this is also how it looks on the 4 hour time frame, look at the spikes and then the dips and then the spikes again. Like where the hell is the average over here? This is what I mean when I said each strategy can be applied to a variety of instruments, but there is a huge but. You need to apply it slightly differently depending on the time frame and on the instrument you're on. So you can use the same volume strategy on the different time frames, that's true. But what they didn't tell me was that you need a slightly different approach. And I learned this the hard way. For those of you who didn't know, I started with volume price analysis with the book from Anna Cooling. This is the trader that I was mentioning at the beginning of the session. And I actually got one-on-one coaching from Anna Cooling and her husband, David Cooling. Great coaches. So after reading the book, what I did is I started applying the theory on the daily time frame because it's a slower time frame. So it gives you more time to analyze the charts, to read the charts. It's not as fast as the 5-minute time frame. But then when I got better at it, I'm like, you know what? Let me apply this to the weekly time frame. Good, no problem. Then let me go to the 4-hour time frame. And that's where the panic started. That's when the chart, instead of looking like this, started to look like this. So when I started to apply the theory in the faster time frames, like on the 4-hour and on the 1 hour, guys, I panicked. I had a midlife crisis. I was like, what I learned doesn't work on these time frames? So much effort, so much sweat put into this, and it doesn't work. So then I switched strategies. I switched strategies, guys. The logic being, in my defense, I want to trade on the faster time frames because I know that on the faster time frames I can get more reps in. More reps equals more volume, and more volume equals higher quality, because quantity brings quality. But then I saw that something's not working on the 4-hour time frame and neither on the 1-hour time frame. That's how I got to trend lines. I just switched to a different strategy. I'm like, heck, volume doesn't work, dispose to the garbage. So I started from zero. Again, due to my stubbornness, I was getting handier with the trend line strategy, but the mechanics of volume, like to me, it made so much sense to read volume and to learn how to read volume in a chart that I'm like, you know what? Let me reach out to Anna Cooling and David Cooling. Let me send an email and let me see and let me ask just to see what they have to say. And here's the secret that they didn't tell me, but I also didn't ask, I like to take responsibility. I'm like, I could have asked, but I didn't ask. They said, yes, you can technically still apply VPA to the 4-hour and a 1-hour time frame, but that requires a slightly different approach. Now that last part, that requires a slightly different approach, that was never said to me. I'm like, what? Why was that never said? And then again, because we like to take responsibility, I never asked to what extent the statement of what we're teaching to you applies to every single time frame and every single instrument, and all you need is this one book. I never asked myself whether that statement was true and or applicable, or to what extent that was true. Because you might have guessed it, I don't know what I don't know, so of course I didn't ask that. All I heard was, here's a book, they dissected the monthly, the weekly, the daily, where the volume is all average. When I saw these 4-hour and the 1-hour time frames, I realized, hey, we never talked about volume on the 4-hour and the 1-hour time frame. But then they gave me, they were nice enough to give me a free PDF on how to deal with the volume on the 4-hour and the 1-hour time frame. It's like a whole book PDF of free examples on how to actually do it. And it does require a slightly different approach, because the advice they gave me was just skip it for now. And I'm like, no, I don't want to skip it for now because I want to stick to the 1-hour and the 4-hour time frame. So they were kind enough to give me a PDF, for free. But the whole point is that I had the belief, I took what they said too literally. That's it. When they told me that you can apply this to any time frame and to any chart, That's exactly what I did. What I learned, I applied it the same way. But then I crashed. So the false idea that you can apply the same strategy the same way to all instruments and get equally good results leads to mistake number 2. You try to apply one thing to everything, expecting the same results. So here's how it looks like. So you have the belief. This leads to the mistake that you try to apply the strategy the same way to every instrument and every time frame. But that leads to confusion and disappointment because it doesn't work. That's why I was confused and I was disappointed that what I learned wasn't applicable. And that led to strategy hopping. Guys, that's why I stopped. I put volume on the side and I went to trade trend lines. I didn't make any concrete progress with volume. I spent like 6 or 7 months learning about volume. And then I spent, I think, 2 months learning about trend lines. And then I realized, wait, it's been 9 months and I haven't learned anything concrete. What is going on? And I'm frustrated. And again, I'm guilty of this. Now we're going to go to false idea number 3. You can learn to trade at a high level only by watching free YouTube videos. Pretty sure you guys have heard this one before. And once again, there is some truth in this statement. Some. Because you can learn a lot on YouTube, specifically when it comes to the fundamentals like, price candlesticks, learn the concepts about opening price, closing price, upper wick, lower wick, the range, the time frames, the basic things. You can learn what is support and resistance, the theory behind the trends, how to spot a trend, and the pullbacks, the minor pullbacks, all of that. But that's only going to get you so far as a beginner. And let me explain to you why. As a beginner, you don't know what you don't know because YouTube is an ocean of information. It's an ocean of videos, and some videos are high quality videos and some videos are low quality videos. And the thing is, as a beginner, you don't know what to weed out and you don't know what to stick with, and everything looks useful. And therefore, you watch everything. But because you watch everything, you end up learning nothing. Being in this situation, I realized that there are 2 types of people that end up doing nothing. You have those people that don't care to learn anything, and you have the people that want to learn everything and therefore end up doing nothing. So the false idea that you can learn to trade only by watching free YouTube videos leads to mistake number 3. You end up watching a bunch of free YouTube videos, thinking that that is enough, and you end up learning nothing. So here's how it looks like. So you have the mindset, the belief, the information in your mind that free YouTube videos is enough. So then what you do is, okay, if YouTube is enough, then I'm gonna watch only the things that are on YouTube. You watch a bunch of YouTube videos and they all seem relevant to you. But then you get a lot of confusion because you get a lot of contradictory information as well. There is this YouTuber that says, you should always apply this, this VWAP, whatever indicator this way. And then you have the other one that also has a video saying, this is the best video you'll ever need, that says, never apply the VWAP indicator in that way. And you're like, what do I do? Then you end up not taking concrete steps because you don't know what the next step should be. You're like, what do I do? Do I go left or do I go right? And the time is ticking. The time is ticking and you're not taking any action. The time goes by while you are standing still, debating, should I do this or should I do that? So then you never get to any concrete results and you get frustrated. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. We also think that we're saving money with the free stuff. But in reality, if you think about it in the long term, we're actually paying a much higher cost. Because when we try to trade without any real guidance, so when we try to just rely on the free videos, we actually end up making more mistakes in the real market compared to if we were to get the help of a coach or a course to avoid exactly those costly mistakes later down the road. So you'll have a cost regardless of how you learn. But the cost of relying on free YouTube videos is higher in the long term than if you had invested early on in a course or a coach. So ask yourself your question. Do I want the lower long-term cost of getting someone else's help? Or do I want the higher long-term costs that watching the free stuff will lead to? So far we have covered 3 false beliefs that lead to the 3 problems. Belief number 1, everybody has got the best strategy. That leads to the problem we don't commit to one way of trading. Because again, you go from best to best to best to best. False belief number 2, each strategy can be applied the same way to any instrument on any time frame and get equally good results. And the mistake is that, therefore, you try to apply one thing to everything and you get no successful results. And belief number 3 is we think that you can learn to trade at a high level only by watching the free YouTube stuff. So the result is that you end up watching a bunch of free YouTube videos and you learn nothing, and that's a problem. For all of these 3 problems, I'm gonna share the 3 specific solutions. But before we do that, we need to understand one tiny thing. A change will only happen if you have a clear and solid reason to change. If you don't have a clear why, you're never gonna make the change. It's that simple. Remember this slide? You had in the example, you had the false belief that more soap is cleaner clothes. Therefore, the action that you take is you double in the soap, and the result is your washer gets stuck. And we know that to get a different result, we need to take a different action. And to take a different action, we need to have a different information in our mind. We need to have a different mindset. But changing the mindset is only going to happen when you have a clear reason to change that mindset. Without a clear why, there's no change. Let me give you an example. So you have the result. This is a positive result. This is a desired result. That the washer washes better and the clothes are cleaner. That's the desired result. And you only got that result because instead of putting double the amount of detergent, you put less detergent. And the only reason that you put less detergent is because you changed your belief, your mindset. The information that is on your mental database changed. Instead of believing that more soap means cleaner clothes, you changed it to less soap means cleaner clothes. But that change of mindset only happened because you had a clear why. You had a clear comprehension. In this case, you understood that less soap means cleaner clothes. That's where it all starts. With your comprehension, with what you understand. And that is your reason why. So to make a change, you need a good reason why. You need to understand a law. You need to understand some information in advance. And this is the reason why the solutions that I'm going to offer to you are built around one thing first: comprehension, understanding something. Because once you understand that less soap means cleaner clothes, then you're gonna think that less soap means cleaner clothes. And then you're gonna take action to put less detergent and you're gonna get the result that you want. So the solution number one, remember the problem was not committing to one way of trading because we believe that everybody has got the best strategy. We go from best to best to best to best, end up trying everything and doing nothing. So the solution is I invite you to understand that everybody has got the best strategy for them. Notice how I highlight for them because the best strategy per se doesn't exist. But what you do have is a best strategy for that specific individual, given that individual's experience, given that individual's goals, given that individual's desires, given that individual's character and personality. And the best advice for someone else doesn't automatically make it the best advice for you. And once you realize that everyone's strategy is the best for them, you're gonna stop thinking that every video is for you. And the moment that you stop thinking that every video is for you, you're going to start choosing. So understand that everybody has got the best strategy for them so that you can then stick to the one best strategy for you. And when you commit to the one strategy, that's when you finally get the results. Now, if you're still not convinced about the importance of committing, I have a couple questions that might help you see it. How can you get good at something if you never stick with it long enough to learn it? Because remember, guys, to become good at something, you need to do many reps of that same specific thing. Name one single powerlifting Olympian that got to that point in their life by only doing 10 squats. Or name a famous bestseller writer that got to that point in their life by only writing 10 pages of a book. Turns out that the people that got all the way to the top is because they did many reps of the same thing. They're committing to the same thing. This is a good one. Would you rather be kind of decent at 5 strategies or a beast in one of them? And if jumping from one strategy to another hasn't worked so far, what makes you think it will this time? Now we're gonna go to solution number 2. We know that the problem is we try to apply one thing to everything the same way. For the solution, I invite you to understand that some things work better than others. Because once you understand that everything does not work the same way everywhere, you're gonna stop the copy pasting. You're gonna start to keep the core and you're gonna fine tweak. You're gonna adapt the thing to that specific context. And that adaptation is the thing that's gonna help you thrive in those specific settings. So understand that some things work better than others depending on the context, so that you can then adapt the strategy to the right instrument and the right time frame. This is very trading specific. Again, if you're not convinced yet, if one size really fits all, Why do you think pro traders stick to a specific instrument and a specific time frame with their strategy? And that's because pro traders already figured it out. Pro traders already figured out that the one size fits all doesn't work. That's why they don't use a one size fits all approach. That's why they stay loyal for a specific instrument. That's why they stay loyal to a specific time frame. And if price behaves differently on the 4-hour chart versus the daily chart, then why would you apply the same strategy the same way across all time frames? Don't go applying everything the exact same way everywhere expecting the same results, because some things work better than others depending on the context. And lastly, problem number 3, to get to solution number 3. The problem is we're watching a bunch of free YouTube videos and learning nothing. There is a quote that I heard. I don't remember who told me this quote, but it said, life will not give you what you want if what you want is everything. And why this matters for us is if you chase every single YouTube video, so if you want everything that is on YouTube, you're gonna end up with nothing. You're gonna end up with no focus, with no depth, and with no progress, because you have to choose so that you can commit. My invitation to you is understand that you're either paying with big trading losses or with a coach that helps you avoid those trading losses. The question is, what price do you want to pay? Do you want to pay the price of having huge trading losses because you don't know what you're doing and you're figuring it out along the way? Or do you want to pay the price to buy the lessons, the mistakes, and the time that somebody else already made? One drains you while the other one trains you. So understand that you're either paying with big trading losses so that you can then make the choice of investing in yourself to get better results in less time. And by investing in yourself, I mean get a coach or buy a course. Get some guidance, not just the free YouTube videos. Because again, if you're advanced in trading, then yeah, you can discern which is good and which is not good for you. But as a beginner, you don't know what's what. So get a coach to help you with that. Get a structure, get an expert to guide you. It's the same as buying someone else's time, someone else's mistakes and lessons, so you don't have to learn them the hard way. And it's also compressing the time that it takes you to be successful at that particular thing. And not getting a coach would mean wasting time on the things that don't matter because you don't know what to filter out. And again, there's nothing wrong with that because you're a beginner. You don't know what you don't know. And you also end up skipping the fundamentals because you don't even know what exists. You don't know what you don't know. Now, some questions to keep you thinking. Would you rather pay a fixed price for a course or an unlimited price in trading losses? If there's always a price, wouldn't you rather pay for the lessons than hundreds of scars? And why would someone reasonable waste years making avoidable mistakes when they could learn from someone else's faster? The whole idea is going from paying for a coach is too expensive to paying for a coach/course as an investment. From thinking that, oh, I can afford this thing, to how much time and how much money is this thing gonna save me? So the 3 invitations that I want you to take away from this presentations are: understand that everybody has got the best strategy for them, so that you can then stick to the one best strategy for you. Then I also invite you to understand that some things work better than others depending on the context. Because once you understand that, you can then adapt the strategy to the right instrument on the right time frame and achieve successful results with that specific strategy. And thirdly, I also invite you to understand that you're either paying with big trading losses or with a coach who helps you avoid those trading losses. Because once you understand that, then you're gonna make the logical decision to invest in yourself to get better results faster. And guys, these are my 3 solutions. We understand that we are getting an undesired result, we're making these mistakes because we're taking the wrong action, and we understand that we're taking the wrong action because we have the wrong mindset, we have some false information wandering around in our minds, and we understand that we have that false information going on around in our minds because we have a lack of comprehension of something. So doing reverse engineering, first, we need to comprehend a law, some sort of truth. Then we can change our mindset, because that comprehension is going to give you the reason as to why we need to change our mindset. And when you have a strong reason why to change your mindset, you're going to change the mindset. Then the change in action can happen, and then the change from undesired result to desired result is going to happen. But it all starts in here. That's it. Do you feel like I just saved you a few months of frustration, at least a couple weeks of this frustration that I've gone through? And if the answer is yes, that means that I have successfully been of service to you, and that's the only thing that I want to do. And for your own good, I invite you to not believe anything that I say. Verify it. Verify it through your own experience. Because if you blindly believe everything that I just said, then all this information is just going to be added to that box that we call your current system of beliefs, which is very limiting. I don't want you to believe anything that I'm saying. I invite you to take this information, to apply it, to execute on it, to take action, and see the results for yourself, experience it yourself. Our goal is to find the truth, and the truth can only be found through your own personal experience. So really, guys, don't believe any word that I say. Go, take the time, verify it, and find your own truth.